Alright guys, welcome back to the Bano Boy Variety channel. Today's video what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making currency lesson number 3. And you're probably wondering, where's currency lesson number 2, sub lesson number 3? Well, as you could see, there was a final denomination for the compound interest treasury note. And that was the $1,000 denomination. However, when I was searching around on the web, I could not find any photo, no matter what, of the $1,000 denomination. Obviously, they are even more rare than the $500 ones are. And just like the $500 denomination, there are only proof impressions known. Proof impressions are obviously basically based on information that they may have been written down from back in that time of what the note looked like. Maybe somebody who's numismatic or works at the treasury or something, they formulate, they draw up a proof impression, print it out, make it look all just like a note of what that note may have looked like. Because I'm sure as of now we do not know if that is what it looked like. So the proof impression depicts to the right, to the left of the note, is Justice holding scales aloft in her left hand and a sword in her right hand. At the center is eagle with shield, and to the right is a standard bearer. Now we saw a vignette on the $500 denomination called the standard bearer. However, it was depicting a soldier carrying a flag. This standard bearer vignette is depicting a goddess holding the flag. And this also has different wording. As we can see, the $10 through $100 denominations of the compound interest treasury notes stated compound interest treasury note over the front of the note in either bronzing powder green ink or gold, because they basically had the same vignettes and designs on them as their interest-bearing note counterparts. So they had, I guess that's how they distinguished that they were compound interest treasury notes. However, these $500 and $1,000 denominations do not state that kind of wording. I can't read what's on the $500 denomination because that was a bad print, and I'm not just scrolling back through all that to get the $500 denominations. That's going to be boring for you guys. So this says compounded semi-annually is the new note on the new wording on the $1,000 denomination. Alright, so now to what this video is mainly about. Interest-bearing notes, as you can see by the title. Interest-bearing notes were another note, the last one we'll talk about, I believe, that was used to fund the Civil War. These were created because of the financial emergencies and financial being desperate financially in the Civil War. I explained about this in the demand note videos, I believe. It would have been currency lesson number 1. The interest-bearing notes are basically the same concept as compound interest treasury notes. So, they would issue them, I believe, in 60 days, 1 year, 2 year, or 3 years, I believe, were the dates, I believe. I don't know if there was another one, but I believe that's what that was. And then they were redeemed, and whatever interest they accrued, that was paid back as well. The reason that these are the scarcest, or I don't know if that's a word, most rarest of all U.S. paper money, is that most of these notes lived up to that goal of being redeemed after they had reached their time limit. So most of like I said, most of the notes lived up to that. So they were redeemed, most of the population of all the denominations. So that leaves a very small population of notes that did not get redeemed, and so that just leaves a very small population for collectors, leaving the smallest population actually of all United States paper money for collectors. I am going to be covering 3 denominations in this video: $10, $20, and $50 interest-bearing notes. The $10 and $20 notes have only one time that they were issued for one specific period of time. Starting at the $50 denomination, I'll explain about that when I get to the $50 denomination, but I'm just going to say now it has multiple issues, and I'll explain what those issues are when we get to them. Not issues like there's an issue with the note, issues of currency, like multiple types of currency that were put into circulation. But we'll get to that when we get to the $50 denomination. So, I actually do not have the $10 one printed out, but I did actually print it real quick. It did come out in a small size, a really small size, but you're still able to distinguish what's on it, though. So, I'm going to pull back to the $10 denomination here. So here we are. March 3rd, 1863, this accrued 5% interest over a period of 1 year. So 1 year, all the interest that it accrued, the $10 was given back along with all the interest that it had accrued over that 1 year period. All right, this note in the book says it has an American Banknote Company imprint. So Columbian Banknote Company and American Banknote Company, I believe, were the two prominent banknote companies of the Civil War that printed all of the banknotes of the United States during that time. And I'm sure they printed many more after that. But this features Salmon P. Chase on the left. This was obvious, like I've said many times before, this was before the law was passed that any living person at the time could not put their face or their portrait on currency. That would not be till a later date. But this was not in place yet during this time because Salmon P. Chase was alive and he was the Secretary of the Treasury, I believe, under Abraham Lincoln. He might have had another role. I don't know about that. But and then in the middle is Eagle of the Capitol and the Goddess of Peace to the right. This one that I'm holding in my hand has serial 64784, March 30th, 1864, small red spike seal, plate letter A. Salmon P. Chase, Eagle of the Capitol, Goddess of Peace. Vignettes. The A plate letter is right where my finger is there. This finger. Back. Features 2 10 counters. And above, state that the note, this above paragraph here, before this little dark space here, states the note is legal tender. The big paragraph at the bottom states that the note should not be counterfeited and the fines and prices of counterfeiting. I think it says up to $1,000 in fines, $1,500 in fines or hard labor, imprisonment, or both. So that's a pretty hefty price at that time. And it also includes even being in possession of a counterfeit, even if you didn't counterfeit it. So, very, because that was a popular thing then, is counterfeiting. So there was very vicious repercussions for that. Values. It's around the range of 2200 in VG8, 4300 in Fine 12, VF20, $10,000 in EF40, $17,500. This is bringing you a lot of money. So that's a $10 denomination. We keep us moving here. We're going to move to the $20 denomination. So interest-bearing note, March 3rd, 1863, 5% interest over 1 year. Same quality of interest as the $10 one. This is going to feature the same ones that Compound Interest Treasury Note, I believe, did. Here. It's going to feature vignette of Victory to the left, so the goddess named Victory, a coastal defense mortar in the middle, and a portrait of Abraham Lincoln to the right. This one I'm holding in my hand, serial 97732, small red spike seal, March 12th, 1864, plate letter B. This is the goddess of Victory, coastal defense mortar, Abraham Lincoln. Plate letter B. The back features 4 20 counters there, 2 X counters standing for 20 in Roman numerals, and then I'm getting some clauses and words there underneath them, and then all of these just filled with little designs there. Okay. All right. So now to the $50 denomination, where I'm going to explain those issues of currency that I was talking about earlier at the beginning of the video. So, the $50 denomination of interest-bearing notes starts off with the March 2nd, 1861 6% interest over 2 years. Oh, I forgot one thing. Before we move on to the $50 denomination, we're going to talk about the $20 denomination still. So there was a supposed issue of $20 interest-bearing notes of March 3rd, 1863, 5% interest over 2 years. So this was 5% interest over 1 year, over 2 years. However, there is no image given for this because they're not known to have been issued. It says some may have been, per the account of Spencer M. Clark, chief of the National Currency Bureau at that time. However, his account said that the first loss of treasury notes occurred on April 14th and 15th. So apparently there was a mistake made or something where there was a large amount of these lost in the plate printer's drying room. A parcel of 800 unfinished sheets of $20 5% 2-year notes printed on, and then when returned from the drying room on the 15th, counted by 799 sheets. Thorough search was made without finding the notes. So they were basically all lost and they were never issued, so I doubt I'm going to be able to find an image on the web. So that's just that. I was going to explain about it. Now back to what I was saying about the $50 denomination. So, March 2nd, 1861, 6% interest over 2 years is the first $50 note. That's the earliest interest-bearing $50 note that is recorded in here. I have a copy of that I will be showing you today. However, it moves on to March 3rd, 1863, 5% over interest 1 year. March 3rd, 1863, 5% interest over 2 years. Then March 3rd, 1860, June 30th, 1864, 7.3% interest over 3 years. and then March 3rd, 1865, 7.3% interest over 3 years. So those notes all look different from each other. So in currency lesson number 3, sub lesson number 1, I will be covering March 3rd, 1863, 5% interest over 1 year, $50 interest bearing note. So that is what's going to make this currency lesson way more drawn out. So I just figured I'd explain that. But we're going to start off with the earlier one. The only reason that I was able to blast through the $10 and $20 denominations without having to print multiples is because there was only one issue of that currency. I hope you understand what I mean there. So, March 2nd, 1861, 6% interest over 2 years. This note features a portrait it actually doesn't specify who these. Well, it's obviously Simon P. Chase is on the left. It's on the right. However, I'm going to scroll to this one and it might tell me here. Yeah, these were mainly bought as investments by banks and did not circulate in the Commonwealth or the population. But you can obviously think about how much $50 was then, so you can just and even $10, even $1 was a lot then. So just imagine as we progress to the $5,000 denomination, how little circulation those saw. So it doesn't specify who the other guy is in this photo. Obviously, Simon P. Chase is on the right. I don't know who that is. So there's an orange colloidal configuration on here vertically at the center of the image, which is believed to be a technique of the National Banknote Company. That was another banknote company I didn't mention in the United States during this time as the National Banknote Company. So that's that. This one does not have a serial. Plate letter A, along with, does not specify who the goddess in the center of the note is either. So I can't seem to get specifications of what these are. So if any of you guys know that, I mean, I don't know where you would contact that. Access is probably restricted on here, but that's that. Along with the back design, the imprint of the ink on the illustrated note is a bluish green. I don't know about this one. So there's a 50 in the United States, and then an L counter, which is Roman numeral for 50. So that's that, and this is the configuration technique of the National Banknote Company. So that's going to be it for today's video. Please leave a like and subscribe, as that helps out the Banknote Boy Ride channel. Stay tuned for currency lesson number 3, sub lesson number 1.